Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Canaan, New York. This is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center, New York, Kaustubha. Welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome to Sleeping Sunday. Happy Easter for those who celebrate Easter. And we are actually on location because you can't get on the internet today. But happy Easter, Kaustubha. You see I'm wearing my pink linen shirt. And because I just got out of surgery, all I can wear is my white Adidas sweatpants and a pink linen shirt. Doesn't go great together, but it's all I got.
Why is the shirt necessary?
Pink. It's Easter. Pink rabbits. Aren't rabbits pink?
I don't know.
Don't rabbits lay chocolate eggs? Come on, Kaustubha, pull it together.
All right.
And I'll say, we had a nice little Easter basket for the kids. Then they're going to their moms, and then they're going to do.
They went hunting for the basket.
And they're going to go. Oh, they're going to no. They got the basket. They were awarded the basket just for waking up. And Mara did a good job as sort of putting that basket together. It was a sweet little morning. Then they'll go to their mom's house.
No hunting involved?
They're coming back from their mothers. Then they will hunt for plastic eggs made in China with Lindt chocolate bunnies in it. And then they will come back, and we will get in the car and drive to Brooklyn and meet my family.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what we're
Sounds
doing.
like a full day of activities.
It's a full day of Easter joy. And I got an Easter basket too. Mara made me an Easter basket.
Throw a little kirtan in it, do something.
Sort of. When they came down, they had to offer obeisances and touch the ghee lamp.
Okay.
And yeah, that was sort of as Krishna conscious as it got. Yeah. How are you?
Good.
Now then I go hang out with the Italians for pasta.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah. It's a little agitating sitting here because it feels like after the surgery, it feels like I've been impregnated with a baby robot. That's what it feels like. I'm carrying a baby robot in my belly right now.
You may have been.
I might have been, but that's how I feel. So it's a little uncomfortable if I make awkward faces during the show.
Are you sure you should be traveling?
It could be the baby robot kicking. Should I be traveling? Probably not.
All right.
Probably
do
not.
it anyway.
I'm doing it anyway. So, how are you? Everything good? Today is a Q&A day.
I'm good.
Okay, today's Q&A day, but we're Q&Aing each other. Talk about some, interesting things though about our journey.
Yeah. More interview day, not the Q&A, but it's like
it's interview day.
It's like an interview.
Yeah, but before we do that, lovely Miss Malibu Mara, who's sitting in the passenger seat, it's got a few announcements to make. Mara.
Happy Easter.
Happy Easter.
We have a Back to Recovery group meeting at 9:30 today. I think that's our only announcement. And there's still some spaces left at Wisdom of the Sages Italy retreat, June 27th through July 4th. And you can go to wisdomofthesages.com/events for more info.
Alrighty.
All right.
All right, Mr. Kaustubha.
So is Mara going to read the questions? Are we going to read the questions?
Maybe we should. Mara's a little sort of off camera in the passenger seat, and we're a little precariously, got this computer propped up.
Point the mic a little bit at your mouth more direct.
On the bench, yeah.
That's
okay.
better.
We're technically challenged today.
Okay.
The best thing I got going for me is my pink linen shirt. That's about it.
Well, then we're in trouble.
Yeah. Please don't make me laugh. I want boring Kaustubha today, please. Laughing hurts, burping hurts, hiccuping hurts, coughing really hurts. Okay. So why don't you start?
All right. So these are questions. We have just interesting questions to ask each other. So I'll get it started with asking you this one. Then you can throw it back at me. All right?
Okay.
So Raghunath, when did you know deep in your heart of hearts that you had to commit your life to the practice of Bhakti Yoga?
Oh, when did I know that? Okay, that's a great question.
You're playing it like like you didn't know how you were doing some fantastic acting. Oh, yeah.
Academy
Of
Award
course.
winning Raghunath. Oh my God, where this question's out of the blue. I wasn't ready for this. Um, I knew, I think that when Krishna knows you're eager or on a spiritual path, he starts sending messengers, situations, gain, loss, and sort of that was just happening to me. I had my material life was being fulfilled and it wasn't fulfilling. My material life was being fulfilled and it wasn't fulfilling. My father left his body. It wasn't expected. So my stability in my life was unstable. And my material desires, I started to realize there is nothing of this world that will give me what I want. There's nothing, there has to be something more of this world. And I think a lot of times people who sort of get their desires fulfilled in this world, it's like you get to this point where you chant the now what mantra. Ever chant that mantra and like, now what? Now what am I supposed to do? Okay, I got it. Did there, went to Paris. Now what? I'm at the Eiffel Tower. Now what? Here I'm in Rome. Now what? I've been, I've traveled all over the world. I've backpacked. I've been to this beach. Now what? And I think I was suffering from like, now what? But I had a strong spiritual inkling. And also when you start to meet people who practice bhakti, it's not just now what, like the material world is dead and there's nothing. But when you start practicing bhakti or getting into bhakti, you start to meet people and you're sort of like, I want what they have. How do I get what they have? How do I get that? And I think it's that created a time and space, a place in time where I was like, this must happen to me ASAP.
Now,
And
what
it
was
really
that
happened.
exact? Can you narrow
When was
it
that?
down?
It happened like right before in 1988 when I was about to go on tour with my band, Youth of Today. And I was like, I don't know why even Krishna's putting me on this tour. And and the day before, the 3 days before the tour, our van engine seized. So their van was no good. We couldn't tour. And our roadie quit and we really needed a roadie. And I thought, okay, this is Krishna's arrangement. Krishna has destroyed our van and he's made our roadie quit. And but 3 days later, we got a call from an old friend of mine. When I say old friend, I myself was only 22. He was 23. Our drummer was 15. So an old friend of mine I've known for a few years now, who's now an initiated devotee. His name is Sachi Sutta. He said, hey, I've got a van. I've got nothing to do this summer. You want me to take you guys around on tour? And I was wondering, I was actually looking at myself and saying, I don't even know why Krishna's putting me on this tour. None of the guys in my band are into Krishna consciousness. They all think I'm crazy. I don't think this is going to be good for my spiritual life. I thought Krishna was supposed to take care of me. But then when I heard this guy call, I felt like Krishna is sending me this person to encourage me in my spiritual life. And it's true. As soon as we got in the van together, we connected on a spiritual topic. And both of me and him, it was our whole journey home. And so I knew after that tour, I'm going to just give my life to Krishna. And truthfully, what happened was my father left his body right when the tour ended and I went to India. And so I knew it. I knew it was coming and I knew I just had to do it.
Did the rest of your bandmates did your attitude kind of disappoint them? Was it a drag for them in any way or something?
Yeah, they thought I was nuts. I mean, it was all really nuts.
I mean, not even when you left after the end of the tour, but even during the tour, was it like, this guy's really not into this anymore?
Yeah. They could see my heart was going into different places, and it was peculiar because it was a time when we've sort of we're getting what we had worked for, all these, what we've been building up towards. We were getting that success that we wanted. And it just, I think people can feel what I feel in their own workplace, that you're getting something fulfilling from the workplace, but unless there's some bhakti behind it, it's like, big deal. Now I'm respected. Big deal. Now I got a raise. Big deal. Now I'm a VP. big deal. There's always a big deal that, okay, now I've got all these things that, facilitate my sense gratification and my ego. And now what? Am I a better person because of it? I mean, I think there's something cool to be said when people do things with their life, maybe something athletically, like they become a great champion fighter, a great champion gymnast, a great violin player, stuff like that. But there's still, now what do I do with this? Where is this great perfected talent go as well? And so for me, I really had to just disengage from the whole damn thing and refine myself. But that calling became louder and louder and louder for me. And that was about in October in 1988.
October 88.
September, maybe August, maybe 88. Okay. What about you? What about you? When did you know, like, my material life is over?
I don't know. Well, at least that I should try. What I felt was I need to commit myself to this. And I spoke about this not long ago on the show. But it was I'd imagine it was like a couple years let's say when I'm about 18, that I started getting into spirituality, curious about it, started exploring it, especially through reading. And so, and because I had friends who were into Prabhupada and into Bhakti and Krishna consciousness, so Prabhupada's books, became part of that. And I was reading those books, and the books I remember reading especially were Bhagavad Gita for sure, and Ishopanishad, and Ever Well Wisher, and which is Prabhupada's biography, and Signs of Self-Realization. Those books, there are probably others too, but especially those books. And as I was reading them, I felt 100% like, okay, click, click, click. Like, this is answering the question. This is, I'm not seeing any other things I was reading. They seem like they weren't appealing to my, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know, skepticism, but in other words, to my questioning, it was kind of more like, here's a presentation, and you kind of just have to leap and accept. The answers just seemed to all fit together very consistently, more than anything I had been exposed to. And so within myself for some time, it almost felt inevitable that I was going to get into this, because it just seemed like it had all the answers,
Right.
But at the same time, I wasn't ready to commit. And so then one evening there was a program. When I say program, I mean, it was just, there may have only been it was in an apartment of a friend of mine, and this was John Joseph from the Cro-Mags. And it was in his apartment on Clinton Street, downtown. And I just knew that there was some Krishna program going on in his apartment. That's all I knew. And when I got in there, the apartment looked very different than it normally did. It looked cleaner, and actually there wasn't much in the apartment, and it was pretty empty. But in walked Tamal Krishna Goswami, and he sat on the floor with us. It was just a handful of people sitting on the floor, and he spoke. And when I heard, and we spoke about this on his disappearance day just a month and a half ago or something, right on the show.
That's right.
But he spoke, and it, I think I mentioned this then, but I don't know if it was that he said anything there that answered a question that I needed answered. But there was something in the power of his words that went to my heart and made me feel, okay, that's it. It would be, you know what? It's probably especially more like what you were just saying, like, I want what that person has.
You know what, Kusu, if I can jump in here a sec. I
Yeah.
think that's what I like about this path is it's not like there's some deity, some great spiritual being, and we're all like these peons. But the whole idea is that you can start to resurrect yourself.
Yeah.
It's like you like what they have, you can have it. Here's the recipe. Put this recipe together. Now, in our minds, we never think, well, I'm going to be a guru, because that shouldn't be the mood. But we want to get out of the mud, and they have a plan to do it. And it's not like their plan is to always keep us down and they stay high. They want you yourself to rise up high and lead the way yourself, and then reach out and help other people. It's like you have the ability to transform your life. It's not just like this concept that there is a divine being and everybody else are sinful and they're a waste of time, and you better hold on, because otherwise you're gonna suffer like anything. You too can change.
Yeah, and now that I'm thinking about it, I think that it was more that than anything. It was like, look at this man, look what he's done with his life. What the hell am I doing with my life?
Right, right.
And really, that period of my life, it was really for exploring. I was working as a bicycle messenger, which was just something I was doing just to pay the rent, and just really trying to explore, where is this going to go? I wasn't in college or anything like that. I didn't have any particular, path of material success laid out for me. I was just
Right.
trying to figure out, what is life all about and what's the best thing to do with it. And
Yeah.
in him, I saw someone like, okay, this person, he's found truth, and he said, I'm going all in, and he's done it.
Right.
And he's powerful, and it's radiating from him. Like the fact that he made this commitment in his life and he's living according to these principles, I could feel the power from and I was thinking, that's what I ought to do.
It was
So when I
power
walked out of
without
that day, I said,
it's
"This is
power
it."
without ego, though. Usually when there's
Yeah.
power, it's all about me and my power, but it's
Yeah.
power like through devotion. And when you meet a saintly person, it's like they have a lot of power, but it's not about them. It's not about them showing off their power
No,
too.
as
It's
a
like,
servant. Yeah.
yeah, a power servant.
Yeah.
That's nice.
All right.
All right. What's next on your agenda, sir?
Okay, so here's the next question, Raghunath. At that time in the beginning, when you're first coming to Bhakti, what were your biggest doubts?
My biggest doubts. Well, there's at different phases of the game, there were different doubts. The first thing were the deities. I couldn't get the deities. To me, they were just
Worship.
yeah. When I heard the first thing that, somebody told me they dress the deities on a regular basis, they put on different clothes. I was like, that's the craziest thing I've ever heard. That
Okay.
is the craziest thing. And my friend of mine said, you want to live in the temple? If you live in the temple, you know what they do? They make you dress they make you, she said, they make you dress the dolls. I was like, what? And so that was like so shocking. I was like, okay, that's too
They
weird.
make you do it.
They make you dress the dolls. So, but after a while, I realized, well, an altar is just a place of focus. You got to understand, and for a lot of people out there, this was pre-internet. So even just wearing saffron robes was weird. Like a sannyasi or a monk, it was weird. Things weren't shown, like there was not that many television stations. It was before the internet, the satellite TV. There were no cell phones. Like we had no information about other cultures. When you did go to India, it was completely isolated. There was practically no electricity, what to speak of any telephones in the town in Vrindavan. So the whole thing seemed very foreign. I remember seeing a Swami, I think it was Romapad Swami, walking down up First Avenue. I turned around and he's like this bald man holding a staff, which, who holds a staff? Like a shepherd? And I looked at him, I swear I almost jumped out of my shoes. I was so scared. I was like, what the hell? I was scared. I was like, what the hell is going on? And that was the Lower East Side when everybody looked freaky. But it was just like so shocking to see a man dressed in pink robes walking down, carrying a giant, like little Bo Peep staff. Anyway, it was, but after a while, you start to realize, just like anything, you think, okay, there's a central focus. That's the altar. Then they also sing to the statue of their guru. That was another weird thing. What is that? Okay, I guess the guru's. And then there's the whole thing of, and then I started doubting, like, all right, well, what do we do? Or is our goal just to like tell people about this and then bring them in so they can tell more people? Like, when does the living start? You know what I mean? So that was sort of a doubt. Are we just preaching to preach, to make more preachers to preach? You know what I mean? I was like, how do we incorporate this into a culture, into society? I think a lot of people, when they get into Bhakti now, they don't have that doubt, but that's what it seemed like what was going on.
It was entirely missionary
It
oriented.
was entirely mission oriented. When do you just live now? When do you just live a spiritual life? But slowly, I will say, my doubts started chipping away and started breaking down. And there was enough of a foundational understanding for me to even take a step forward. I mean, I really felt like there is no success in the material world, because I was watching people around me become successful and becoming more degraded in their success. And I was like, I don't want that. And I was like, where is the actual win? How famous must I have to be to realize that fame won't give me success? How much money will I have to make me realize money won't give me success? So I was really had lost faith in the accumulation of matter. And I really felt like there must be some sense of altruism or something that has to be more important. And what is the highest altruism? Those are the questions going through my mind. So, but little by little, I felt like I'm going to keep moving forward and I'm going to see what happens. I'm going to keep stepping forward and see what happens. Now, there are always a scandal here and there you would hear about. Oh, this Swami did this, or this guy did that, or this woman. And there's always, and in those scandals, they almost set me up to break my faith. But I realized, you know what? That's got nothing to do with the teachings. That's got something to do with the weakness of a person, and let's face it, people are weak. There's always been scandals, and I'm not going to let a scandal break my faith, because no one's actually asking me to practice in an ashram. I did that by my own accord. Even the way it was taught to me by my mentors, they were like, you don't have to do this in an ashram. You do this in privacy of your own home. Make it your own thing. And I tell that to people on the show. It's like, I'm not getting any kickback from some religious institution to speak about Krishna. I don't get 10% off the top of their monthly tithing.
You have to give it all to the
Yeah.
cult.
Yeah, I know. So I think like everything, you don't like to work within the confines of an institution. Great. Make your home, make your apartment a temple.
Although honestly, at that time, it did feel almost like you did have to.
Yeah, at that time it was a little bit more culty, but truthfully, the mentors I had never spoke to me like that.
Yeah.
So I feel like blessed, because I'm a real, I'm a New Yorker. I'm like a suspicious guy. I didn't trust people so much. And what do they want from me and stuff like that. So yeah, those doubts started melting away.
Okay.
And I'll still get a doubt now and then. You know what I mean?
Hold on, don't share your doubt, because that's the next question.
Ooh, okay, go. How about you? What were your early doubts?
It wasn't doubts about the teachings. Those were incredibly satisfying. There was just like, that makes sense. But I think it's similar to what you're saying. It was doubts about the organization, or doubts about the people in the organization. Some of them I was like incredibly impressed with, and others less so. I remember my first impressions of Krishna consciousness is that, when I was a kid, when I was a teenager, I would, my life was between Tompkins Square Park and Washington Square Park, right? It was just like going back and forth between these two parks, and
just hanging out.
And so, I remember, the Rath Yatra, just, the Rath Yatra is this big parade, Bhakti Krishna related parade that goes down Fifth Avenue once a year, like in June. And then it concludes at Washington Square Park, and at that point they took over practically the whole park, or at least the whole inner part of the park, right, with all kinds of displays and music and different tables set up and all of that. And when I saw that, it was all totally new to me. It's like, who are these people and why have they taken over the park today? I was a little upset about it, like
Yeah.
they just ruined the day here. It's like,
Oh, there's chanting and dancing and feasting.
and honestly, aesthetically, I wasn't attracted to it. A lot of it seemed gaudy to me. A lot of it seemed, I don't know. I wasn't impressed, honestly.
Oh, okay.
And and then some of the people and the way they were dressed and the T-lock and all of these things just, it seemed very foreign to me. So probably, if anything was holding me back, I was mentioning earlier, I was reading all this and it was all clicking, but I wasn't yet ready to commit. So I suppose there's something in me saying, could I really be one of these people?
Yeah.
And at that time, as we were just discussing, it was, at least it felt more like either you're in this or you're out. It's like, if you're going to get into this, you go full on and you put on those clothes yourself and you do all of that.
Right. I'm looking at everybody on the Zoom board right now. It's like, you shave your head, you shave your head, you shave your head.
Yeah.
Although, interestingly enough, the people I'm looking at, let's say Miguel,
They got shaved
Thomas, Mukunda, they all have shaved heads. Steve Amari, they all have shaved heads.
Yeah. So I think that's, if you want to call it a doubt, that was my hesitation. Can I really become one of these people?
Right.
I look at it a very different way now. It's like, you don't exactly have to be, you don't have to do all those. You don't have to wear these clothes. You don't have to move into an ashram, and rub elbows with people that you maybe can't relate with at all.
It's much more welcoming. It's much more welcoming and balanced. You and I, fortunately, were extremists, and we extremely got into it.
Yeah. Okay, you ready?
Maybe
for
if
the
it was
next
more
one?
balanced, we wouldn't get into it. Like, this is too balanced for us.
All right. Now here's a heavier question, Raghunath.
Sure.
What are your biggest doubts now? What are they? Say it. First thing that comes to mind. Spit it out.
I'm trying to think of a good doubt. Because there are definitely things I don't get. Definitely things I don't get, but I do have some faith that like, there's very esoteric parts of Bhakti that we don't talk about that much because they're not that public. And truthfully, I'm the strong believer, and a lot of people believe you got to study these things right from the get-go. And I believe no. I believe the thing is, you try to please your gurus and you try to please the previous masters, and all this very esoteric things will be revealed to you. And I believe that it's revealed through loving service and not offending. I'm completely convinced of that. So there's a lot of esoteric books out there that people feel like, yeah, I'm very qualified. I'm reading these books now. Now I'm going to make advancement. I don't believe you can jump over the purification of the heart through seva and through learning how to deal with other people that God puts in your life. I think those are huge, huge practices to understanding the esoteric. The esoteric can't be consumed.
You can't
You
bust
have to
down the door.
Yeah, you have to earn it, and then it gets fed to you by higher beings. That's how I believe.
Okay.
And that's
What do these higher beings look like?
And I'm going to go with
How do they
this.
arrive?
I'm going to go, huh?
What do these higher beings look like, and how do they arrive?
It's the previous masters.
Okay, I thought
The
you meant
previous
aliens.
masters, and they will send modern messengers to you as well. But I think that it has to be earned. You can't jump over things. And I feel like that doesn't mean I shouldn't have a curiosity, but I think even that curiosity comes from having a regular service, from dealing with the people and be enthusiasm in your regular service. I think that's what, for people who have been practicing for a while, they have to be enthusiastic about their contribution. They have to have a contribution that they feel like they're giving in the world of giving the holy name out. They have to be enthusiastic in that, and they have to be enthusiastic for serving Krishna, no matter how long they've been into bhakti. And that from that enthusiasm, then all of a sudden that will push us to go farther and farther. And then this esoterica will be distributed properly. So I do. It's not like I have a doubt that I'm not the most philosophical and the most learned, but I feel like I'll be driven there. I'll be driven there by my service, and I'll be able to understand it in a deeper way than just understanding the surface of it. But I think at one point I was worried about, like, what if I don't die a spiritual way? What if I just, have a heart attack? That's not spiritual. A car accident, that's not spiritual. I believe that Krishna will just enter my mind. That, I also believe in the power that God is real and will reciprocate. That even if you don't have the quote romantic leaving your body, God will enter your mind when you need him the most, because God reciprocates with his devotees. Every time I get freaked out and I have some doubt, I feel like it's answered, even though I may not understand it. Like sometimes I'll feel like, come on, I'm trying my best to make these kids Krishna conscious. What the hell, God? Help me out here. But I feel like, you know what? And I just start to I feel like I get to understand life better. I was like, these people are on their own path. These children are not your children. I feel like there's always an answer provided for me. And then, of course, when there is certain things that I'll never fully understand, like whatever, the 30,000 sons of Maharaj Sagara, things like these. All these things exist in other dimensions anyway. So it's not like I'm supposed to understand demigods or nagas, or life on other planets. How am I supposed to understand these things anyway? My senses are limited and tiny. I can't have perfect knowledge with imperfect senses. That's just like the ABCs of hearing the Vedas, that you can't, we think we have to know everything. There's a lot of things we just can't know. And just understanding that is a relief. So I'm moving forward, and I feel like the things I don't get, they'll be revealed. The things I'll need to know to move forward will be revealed to me.
Okay, so the doubt, your biggest doubt now, you don't have, I guess you just kind of recategorize these things. They're not doubts, they're just unknowns.
Yeah, they're unknowns, and if they're necessary for my evolution, Krishna will reveal them to me.
I like that attitude. I think that's really important. I think it's almost silly to think, to some listeners, they may not really get what we're getting at right now, but like there are esoteric bhakti practices. And you're saying that you can't just rush, like when you're ready for those practices, you'll know. But you can't just, it's almost like you're trying to become intimate with someone and you're kind of like getting right into their personal life. It's like Krishna brings us in when our heart is right.
Right.
And so we got to spend our time working on that,
Sure. Because Krishna, I mean, unless you're something like, and other religions or ethical people will talk about envy. You want what somebody else has. So if I read and study these intimate pastimes of Krishna, and I want to try to find my intimate relationship with Krishna, if you can't get rid of material envy, Krishna doesn't want you in, because ultimately, if you're envious of other people, you'll be envious of Krishna. Krishna will award you some type of benediction, and you'll use it against God to prove you really got to get over the ego and the envy for Krishna to bring you closer and closer. So all this sadhana bhakti we're doing is preparation to get closer and closer to Krishna. But you've got to become purified. That ethics exist to bring us closer to Krishna. They don't exist in a vacuum. We're just ethical beings. Who cares? Ethics are nice, but they're meant to bring us closer and closer and intimately united with Krishna.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
What are you doubting, sir? What are your present doubts?
I was just thinking about it as you were speaking a little bit. I suppose if I doubt anything, it's my own ability to understand these teachings.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I was younger, I just thought it was easy. It says it right there in the book, just, and you just follow it. You okay? You look like you're suffering over
No,
there.
I'm a little struggling here.
Okay.
Thank you.
But as I age and spend more time with these practices, I begin to realize it's more subtle than that. You know, on
Right.
one hand, things are on one hand things are simple, and on another hand they're subtle. And I want to try to make sure that I understand. And I just have one guiding principle that I'm trying to understand and apply better as I go along, and that's compassion. In other words, religion and religious. You're muted, Raghunath. You know you were muted. Yeah, you weren't talking to me. You were talking to.
Yeah.
Were you talking to me? Or were you
I'm just
to
talking
her?
to Mare about some medicine.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Sorry.
So I was saying that it's
Sorry.
it's okay. I was saying that I have this. For instance, let's take something here, Raghunath. Right? Like you can read quotes from our tradition that will glorify the guru. It will go on about how the guru cannot be seen as an ordinary human being, and go on and on about one's complete surrender of one's life to the guru, and even that they how they shouldn't even be questioned, and so on, like that.
Right. Absolute statements. And
Yeah. And then you'll find another statement that'll say something like, well, if your guru is having a problem, this is how you should respond. It's
right.
like, now hold
Like,
it.
wait a second. I thought
Yeah,
this person was like an angel, and you're saying he has human foibles as well?
yeah. And so then then one has to say, okay, then how do we actually really understand what this is getting at?
Like that word, Mara? Foible? Human foible. She was impressed with that. Yeah. Thank you.
And how am I meant to interpret that? We'll find, I will use the word apparently contradictory statements. I don't think that the meaning is going to be contradictory, but we will find difference. And therefore, there's so much debate within even, Bhakti communities about how to understand different things.
Mm.
Now, within, say, like religious circles, there's so much argument, there's so much imposition, there's control, and so on, shaming, whatever it may be, based on ideas that we take from the books of our tradition and how we apply it. I doubt my own ability to fully understand this, and as I'm hopefully maturing, evolving, I'm understanding that compassion always has to be the principle running in the background of it all.
Mm.
Like in my understanding of this,
Mm.
it has to come from a place of compassion. It has to always be applied caring for whoever I'm operating with, that it doesn't cause them harm, in some way. I'm not sure if I'm explaining this well, because honestly, it's not all perfectly clear in my mind. Are you
I think I
getting it?
get you. I think I get you.
You want
I
to
think I
repeat
get
it back to me in your own words and see, maybe I'll understand it better if you
you. No, I don't, if you don't mind. I'm going
do.
through a little physical struggle today, Kaustubha.
All right.
But I'm showing up here in my car to try to make this happen.
I guess just what I'm saying is that there's a lot of statements in these ancient texts to really understand, and a lot of it, majority of it, is simple and straightforward and clear.
Right.
But as you go deeper and deeper and deeper, there are subtleties there, and I think we have to be very careful how we apply them. And how and that'll come from our understanding them very clearly. And so I'm hoping, as I mature, that I will understand these things more clearly.
Another doubt sometimes I would get is you see some devotee who's been around a long time, but they do something that drives you crazy. Like, why? You think after 30 years or 40 years or 50 years of practicing, he wouldn't do that. Like, that sometimes can hurt your faith a little bit. And then I realize, but then I defeat it. I defeat that doubt with just realizing, like, you know what? People have been doing millions of years of nonsense. They've been practicing nonsense for millions of years. What makes you think 50 years of practice is going to change the person? We've been practicing bad habits for so long. So every time I get down on something or a situation, I can challenge that again by saying, you know, life is eternal. Even the ongoing thing, which can really sort of break some people's faith, like what tragic things happen. And for me, the only like tragic things happen to like innocent people. You know, that's like an ongoing question in all spiritual paths. You know, and it's just like it things appear tragic, and and ultimately there is benevolence, and ultimately we're getting brought up higher, and you really have to zoom out and see a much bigger picture of existence.
Well, to me, that's a whole nother thing. And there I don't really have doubts. But what you were just getting at is really interesting to me, you know, and it kind of goes back to, I remember many years ago, Raghunath.
Tell me.
And like I'm saying, when I was younger and I was getting into Bhakti, I felt everything was very simple, you know. And now I'm trying to come to terms with the idea that on one hand it's simple and simultaneously it's subtle.
Right.
You know, and so how I look at things, I need to be able to apply it simply when it has to be applied simply, and I need to be sensitive enough to understand when it's subtle. And it was in what you were just sharing, it reminded me of something, and it's something that I think about. It was just one conversation I had with my guru, probably like, you know, sometime in the mid 90s. So this is a long time ago. And sometimes these things visit you many years later, and you begin to meditate more on the importance of something that you heard so long ago, you know?
Okay, what was it? Now I'm eager.
So it had to do with my relationship with someone who was much senior to me at the time. Okay. And I was speaking to my guru about this senior person in a way where I was like explaining to him what I thought this person was doing that was wrong, how their decision making and so on was flawed. Okay. And to me, it was quite simple. Look, A, B, C, D, right? You're supposed to do this. And if you don't do
Right.
it, you're wrong.
You didn't-
And
right.
it's that simple. And I had discussed this person and what they were doing or not doing with him in the past, but not in depth. And then, but in one conversation, he spoke to me, and he was questioning me about this person and their decisions and what they're doing. And I said, you know, but when I think about it from their position and where they're at, and I shared some of the conditions that they're under that are different from the conditions that I'm living under, right? The person's
Yeah.
age, the person's circumstance, the person's, you know, I said, maybe it's not so hard to understand why he's operating the way that he's operating, you know?
Right.
And honestly, I don't even remember the exact words that he shared with me, but I remember his response. I remember the nature of his response, which was like, yes, now it's like, it was almost like he was encouraging me, like, you're coming to another level of thought, right? You're actually thinking more deeply now. And he was
Right.
encouraging me to think that way. That's what I don't remember his exact words, but I remember his positive response to my putting myself in the shoes of someone else and understanding that this isn't so simple, that it's all 1, 2, 3, and that's it.
I think in the beginning stages of Bhakti, we like to look at things in very black and white with no shades of gray.
Yeah.
I think sometimes we need that to sort of move forward and to step away from our Maya practice.
Or even just so that we're not cruel to others, so that we're not judgmental, you know,
Right.
in realms that we're actually not even qualified to understand. You know, we don't know what other people are going through.
Yeah, and there's that idea of there's certain people, you know, who are really like been into Bhakti, they're really serious about Bhakti, or they may have some followers of Bhakti. And I was like, I personally don't get them. And I don't get them. I wouldn't do it that way. I don't think it's a good idea, but I should never criticize them. Even though I sometimes want to criticize, I got to this point where like I can't criticize them because it's just because where is their heart at anyway? They just want to serve Krishna. They just want to serve Krishna. And in that sense, I find some connection with them. The way they're doing it, I don't like, but their intention and their heart, that's something different. That's something very special. And Krishna is pleased with them for that as well. So their service is what's received, and their attitude is what received, even though I would think, oh, this is crazy, I would never do it like this. And I'm so much more like, I find that through the practice of bhakti, Krishna makes me more and more broad-minded and understanding and appreciative.
We have to become.
Yeah.
We have to become. And at the same time, there has to be something about like a human body. It's like it's got a solid spine,
Yeah.
but then it's got a softer flesh. It's like somehow we have to be like firm on one hand, especially when it comes to our own life, and we have to be soft, and flexible in another way too. And that reminds me of that that interpretation of the important verse Trinada piece Unichena. I mentioned to you not long ago that I once heard someone not from our tradition interpret that verse in a different way that I'd never heard anyone within our tradition interpret it. That you're supposed to be
say it again. Yeah.
The verse is that one must be more humble than a blade of grass and more tolerant than a tree, right? Ready to offer all respect to others, not demanding any respect for oneself. And in such a state, one can meditate, one become deeply absorbed always in chanting of Krishna's names, the Mahamantra. Okay, so generally we say humble like a blade of grass and tolerant like a tree. But the way that this person interpreted, he said that we need to know when to be like flexible like a blade of grass. A blade of grass is like, it's
They bounce back. They're stepped on. They bounce back.
But it's in other words, it's flexible. A tree is very firm, So being a bhakti yogi, it means in one sense there has to be something in our life that's very firm and very solid that we don't compromise. And at the same time, we have to be very soft-hearted and very understanding, and and as we mature, somehow seeing the good in everyone, it requires a flexibility. I'm also reminded of something I witnessed between a guru and a disciple. Again, many, many, many years ago. I was a very junior devotee, just new to this, and another person that I was with, that I served a lot with, was just like me. We're both very new to it, but because we were following it very strictly as monks, we felt superior to people that had been practicing it for a long time, that appeared to be not as strict as us, right? It appeared that their lifestyles were not as fully devoted as ours. That's how we interpreted it. They were married, they were involved in other things. It wasn't like we were like 24 hours a day, like plugged in. So to us, it seemed like, okay, we've reached, the higher point. Anyone that's not doing this has less realization than us, right? And I remember that person said to their guru, they were commenting on someone else, someone who was a married man who had been practicing for many years, but who had a job and other other things, and he made some disparaging remark about that person, like they're a little bit out of it, like they're a little bit
Right.
And his guru turned around and just said, actually, I think that person's doing quite well. This person's been into this for 25 years, and I've seen a lot of people come and go in 25 years, and then there was something not spoken, but that was implicit in that response, was like, let's see where you are in 25 years.
Right.
Let's see when you go through all the challenges in life. Let's see if you're still, to see how well focused you are, in 25 years down the road. That was important for me to witness that,
especially when you're young and you're new and you're enthusiastic, and you got an ego that goes with that as well.
Yeah.
To take this practice through single life, brahmachari life, married life, married with kids life, broken marriage life, all these things, they're all different angles that the material world is like, punching at you, punching down upon you. And like, okay, can I still, keep Krishna's feet on my head during all these? Because whenever there's pain, I'm going to react to it somehow in a way that's going to either medicate that pain or surrender to God. And so, yeah, I'm always impressed when I see people around for a long time and still enthusiastic about bhakti. And I got to be careful in my in new stages not to be so harsh and judgmental.
And really that comes from humility, not thinking that I'm better than anyone,
Right.
And
Which is what we've been cultivating our life. If I'm not better than everybody, how can I become better than everybody? Like we think that's like a goal. I want to become better than everybody.
And when that's done within the realm of Bhakti yoga, it's kind of awkward or ugly, particularly, right in that realm. But this reminds me of another important conversation I was part of.
You were chock full of goodies today.
Well, this is bringing it all out. But a friend of yours and mine, who took an interest in Bhakti.
Okay.
And but she always had trouble with something that most people, when you start to get
I
into
know
this,
who you're gonna say. I know who it is already.
Yeah. Most people, when you start to get serious about this, you're just like, when you begin to get really turned on to it, and like people are speaking to you and it's clicking and you're excited, and in your heart you're feeling that excitement. Following the principle of giving up eating meat, for most, it's like, yeah, no problem, drop that.
Yeah.
It's all this great food and everything. But this person always, although they were sweethearted and
good attitude,
great attitude, and really into it and respectful to all the devotees and inspired by all the teachings, they just had trouble giving up eating chicken, right? Gave up other meat, still couldn't let that go for some reason. I can't even really understand it. It seems to me like, come on, man. It's like,
I know it's sometimes also that you hear from other people and you're influenced from other people. And I think she was influenced from other people. I know you need that protein in your life.
Maybe that was part of it.
Yeah.
So in any case, I saw her speaking to Raghunath Swami, this person, and she was crying. And she was, in humility, saying, I'm sorry, I don't know what it is about me that I have so much trouble giving this up. And she was expressing herself like that way. And then afterwards, Raghunath Swami said to me, he said, there are many devotees that follow these principles very strictly. But do they have that kind of humility that we read about? The humilities of the great saints who were speaking just like this person was speaking, with tears in her eyes, He says, sometimes I wonder, who's more advanced along the path. It's not so simple always.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
All right, I think we're about out of time.
I think we are. It's time for the Easter celebrations to continue. I want to thank. I really want to thank everybody who joins us on Zoom every day. It's quite impressive, and yeah, and I really want to thank the others out there. There's people that listen every day, but we never see their face. I want to thank you guys too.
Thank you.
We have a very sweet community here. I want to thank Kaustubha for doing this on a regular basis with me. I've known him for a long time, but we've gotten more and more close since this whole thing. And I want to thank Mara, who somehow got sucked into this, and now she's in it and she can't get out of it even if she wanted to. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for this beautiful community. I want to thank myself for showing up when it's hard for me to even sit down. But yeah. But and thanks to this whole community that supports us through Patreon, patreon.com/Wisdom of the Sages. If you want to make a monthly contribution, please do. Next week, we're taking a road trip down to Alachua, Kaustubha, St. Augustine. We're going to go Rath Yatra in St. Augustine.
Road trip like you're driving down?
Driving down.
Hold it. St. Augustine? What's
St. Augustine, Florida. You heard of it?
What's there?
Jimmy James, Jenna Beers, Linda.
Are you just going down to hang out with people?
No, my kids, spring break. I'm taking my kids to go to Alachua and hang out with the devotees.
But you're going to go down to St. Augustine?
Well, there's Rath Yatra there. And all the devotees from Alachua go there.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Get it? It's a thing.
It's all coming together.
Kadaratma's going to be there.
Okay.
It's going to be a whole thing.
When is that? Next weekend?
Yeah, next Saturday.
Wow.
So anyway, we're trying to figure it out now. We're going to spend a week down there. I think I'm going to do a program there. I'm going to do a program like a Thursday night.
In St. Augustine or in Alachua?
No, in Alachua.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you're from the Florida area, I'll put it out and I'll announce it. And I hope we see you guys. And Mara's going to be with me. Kids are going to be with me, and we're going to do a little chanting, dancing, and
You got to be all healed up by then.
I know. You got to be all healed up. You got to get me better. I'm about to cough. It hurts to cough.
No cough.
Ouch. Okay, guys, I'm getting out of here. It's a beautiful day for a beautiful day. Have a beautiful holiday. If you're doing anything holiday-ish. And let the magic continue to flow. It's a very magical world we live in. Once you connect with the magic. Jai Shri Krishna.